The rock sanctuary of Yazılıkaya, known for its spectacular stone carvings and just a few minutes' drive from the Hittite capital of Hattusa, still remains somewhat of a mystery. The stone carvings are contained in a chamber A and a chamber B, which is open to the sky as it was in the second millennium. Missing is the temple complex that Hittites had to enter to access either chamber. Yazılıkaya is thought to be a site where the ritual celebration of the Hittite New Year took place, and therefore was of great religious importance. Consider this Hittite account of the New Year festival. In honor of the weather god at the beginning of the new year, a great festival of heaven and earth was celebrated. All the gods assembled and entered into the house of the weather god. Whichever god harbors anger in his soul shall chase the evil anger from his soul. Eat at this feast, drink, satisfy your hunger and quench your thirst. The king and queen's life hail, heaven and earth's life hail. This quote notes the presence of a weather god and hails the presence of the heavens and earth. In fact, the central relief in chamber A reveals a weather god called Teshub, along with a earth mother goddess called Hebat, in a matrimonial bond between heaven and earth. To the left and right of these two central figures is a progression of mostly male gods and mostly female goddesses respectively, which correlates well with the quote, "All the gods assembled and entered into the house of the weather god." One of the most interesting aspects of Chamber A is that the central two deities, Teshub and Hebat, are not Hittite, but Hurrian gods. The Hurrians were a people that lived east and south of the Hittite Anatolian heartland. As the Hittite Empire began to expand and incorporate the Hurrian peoples, the Hurrian culture began to have a significant impact on Hittite society. To understand how Hurrian gods ended up in a Hittite sanctuary, one should consider that much of these reliefs were carved during the reign of Tudhaliya IV, who is the son of the Hittite king Tudhaliya III and Puduhepe, the daughter of a Hurrian priest. Undoubtedly, Puduhepe's Hurrian background greatly influenced her son. It is worth noting that the Hittites did not wholesale reject their own gods in favor of Hurrian or other foreign gods, as there was syncretization between the two. For example, the Hurrian mother goddess Hebat was often equated to the Hittite Hadean sun goddess Irina, while the storm god Teshub was syncretized somewhat with the Hittite weather god Tarhuna. This syncretization between the Hittite sun goddess Irina and the Hurrian goddess Hebat, who we see depicted in Chamber A, is well illustrated in a prayer by Queen Puduhepe. Sun goddess of Irina, my lady, you are the queen of all lands. In the land of Haiti, you have assumed the name Sun goddess of Irina, but in respect to the land which you have of cedars, you have assumed the name Hebat. In this scene, we see Teshub on the left, standing on top of two mountain gods, Namni and Hazi, whom are often associated with him. Behind Teshub, we see a bull, and behind Hebat, we see another bull. These may be in reference to Sari and Hurri, who were Hurrian bull gods that were thought to pull the chariot of Teshub. If you look at the male procession to the left of Teshub, you'll see some bull men who more clearly reflect Sari and Hurri. In addition to a mace in his right hand and a short sword in his left, we see a high-pointed hat with many horns. Horns on hats were a common depiction of a god, and on the male side of the procession, we see a number of figures wearing hats with horns, but not nearly as many as the weather god Teshub. Of note are the Luwian hieroglyphics and the oval with a vertical line down the center, which is a symbol of God, which you will see scattered across Yazılıkaya. Across from Teshub, the earth mother goddess Hebat rides a lion, which in turn stands upon four low hills. She wears a pleated skirt, which is prominent in the mostly female retinue to the right of her. The rectangular headdress of the goddesses are easily contrasted with the pointed caps of the gods. Before we head to Chamber B, one last relief from Chamber A should be examined, and that would be of King Tudhaliya himself, who commissioned most of these reliefs at Yazılıkaya. Note that he does not wear a pointed hat, nor does he have horns on his headdress that we see with the male deities. This suggests that the Hittite king did not see himself as a god while still alive, although it is assumed he became a god after his death. His right hand is outstretched, pointing to his personal cartouche, indicating the presence of a royal name. At the center bottom, we see a boot lying sideways, representing 2, possibly in reference to the beginning of his name. Flanking it are a dagger over a blossom, representing the word Labarna, indicating a kingly title, possibly in reference to the traditional first king of the Hittites, King Labarna. On the outer edge is a column with a volute symbolizing Great King. The center is dominated by a mountain god, and above it a winged sun. We now leave Chamber A and come to Chamber B, where we see one of the most iconic reliefs, that of the 12 gods of the underworld. We also come across King Tudhaliya again. However, this time he is in the embrace of the god Sarruma, son of Hebat and Teshub that we saw in Chamber A. It almost appears that Sarruma is guiding Tudhaliya somewhere. Is he guiding the king to the afterlife? It's quite possible, as we see that the adjacent relief depicts Nergal, a god of the underworld, with a lower half shaped like a sword. It's almost as if the sword is piercing the earth below into the underworld. In fact, Chamber B may have been constructed after Tudhaliya's death by his son to honor his father. The symbolism found in these reliefs and ingenious use of natural crevices in the rock make the sanctuary at Yazılıkaya an absolute delight and a must-visit for those touring ancient Hittite sites. If you enjoyed this talk, please like, comment, subscribe, and check out my other videos on the Hittites.